Welcome to this webinar by Obelisk Support for WEConnect International on growing your company with flexible legal services. We are Lucinda and Law, part of the Obelisk Support team, and we're looking forward to explaining how you can grow your business by getting legal support solutions for your commercial needs. If you're wondering whether or not this webinar is for you, ask yourself, do you currently have a legal team or legal counsel? If not, then this webinar is for you, as all growing companies need to access legal resources and advice, whether it's to manage your growing talent team or to ensure that you sign the right contracts with your clients. However, very few SMEs can afford an in-house lawyer, which raises the question, where do you go to get legal advice? How do you find the time to look for the right lawyer when you're busy growing your business? In fact, how do you even know when you need legal advice? This webinar will focus on the options available to SMEs and specifically on flexible legal services and how they can help you. Obelisk Support was founded in 2010 and provides flexible legal services, and we are members of WEConnect. Our founder, Dana Dennis-Smith, won the WEConnect Best Role Model Award in 2017. And Obelisk Support has been recognised as one of the fastest growing businesses in Europe and the United Kingdom by the Financial Times in 2018. And we have also received many other industry awards. Our clients range from SMEs up to FTSE 100 companies and include Vodafone, Barclays, BT, Made.com, Thomson Reuters, ASOS and Not on the High Street. Obelisk Support is the leading champion of women lawyers in the UK, and at its heart seeks to bring positive change to the legal industry by placing experienced women lawyers who are looking to work in a more flexible way. In today's webinar, we're going to cover the following topics: the legal needs of growing companies based on a survey of 10,000 SMEs, the 21st century challenges that growing businesses face, the current landscape in legal services, outsourcing, when does it make business sense? How flexible is outsourcing? A look at some of the employment issues you need to consider when growing your team. A look at some of the general commercial aspects when you need to increase your client portfolio. A couple of case studies of how Obelisk Support can help you and how we work. In 2018, the Legal Services Board published its third report focusing on the legal needs of small businesses and also how their views have changed and how the legal services market responded. Research had also been conducted in 2013 and 2015. It was the largest survey ever performed for small businesses and how they interacted with the legal sector, drawing on over 10,000 responses. Small businesses may have a greater need for external legal business support than larger companies, in part due to limited internal resources and experience. But there still remains a perception that legal services are expensive, whether or not that perception is accurate. This results in many businesses either ignoring legal issues or try to handle them themselves, and that can result in additional or unforeseen costs. That is why debunking a few myths is important. The key findings from the LSB's research include, interestingly, that whilst business problems have actually declined in incidence, that around a third of small businesses actually had a legal problem in the preceding 12 months. This represents a fall from 36% in 2013 to 31% now. The most frequent legal issues are late or non-payment for goods or services provided, goods or services not as described, and liability for tax owed. Around 50% of small businesses reported that a legal issue did have a negative effect. Total annual losses to small businesses due to legal problems are estimated at 40 billion, and over 1 million individuals in small businesses have suffered ill health because of legal problems. There has been a significant increase in the proportion of small businesses doing nothing when experiencing a problem, currently 10%, 50% of these companies adopt strategies which include handling it alone or using an advisor. This is 24%, and this has changed little between 2013 and 2017. Less than 1 in 10 employed in-house lawyers. For those that did use a lawyer, 22% shopped around to find a provider. 50% of those who shopped around found it easy to compare different providers. In summary, the best way to deal with legal issues is to take preemptive action, but you need to shop around to find the best deal and solution for your specific needs. The 6 top challenges in the 21st century for small businesses are data security and GDPR, e-commerce, AI and technology, staffing, cyber attacks, and funding. So looking at the landscape in legal services at the moment, what are some of the options for the providers of legal services? There are a range of options, ranging from traditional law firms, but also legal platforms that can provide legal support. You can employ your own lawyer, or you can outsource on a piecemeal basis. Turning to outsourcing, a trend we've noticed over the last several years is that small business owners are increasingly choosing to hire independent contractors. We've long seen businesses pay outside lawyers or accountants rather than bring them on as staff, and now choose to outsource, and this has become more popular for a growing variety of services. This increase is largely driven by just how simple it's become to find people with specialised skills. Technology and remote working tools have made it incredibly efficient to search out people to do the tasks you don't want to do yourself. Sharing materials has almost become instantaneous as well. And last but not least, you're a click away from a quote and a lawyer being immediately available. As an SME, this opens up the opportunity to get better skilled services for less money. But when should you choose to outsource? Here are 5 questions you can ask to answer that question. 1. Is the task at hand a primary service or offering from your business? If not, don't waste valuable time on it. Do what you do well. 2. Is there a competitive advantage to doing it in-house? If you're not a tech company, it may not fit your needs to have an IT department in the building. 3. Is it a specialised service you don't need to handle full-time? You might have only 1 contract a month that requires legal support, for instance. 4. Is it something else someone can do better and more efficiently? Customers come to Obelisk Support because expert legal advice is something they don't want or need to know about a lot, and they want it to be easy. 5. Are the costs of the service lower than what it would be in time and manpower to get it done in-house? Many company owners wonder, is this going to cost me a fortune? Before looking for legal support. The truth is, the cost of legal advice varies a lot depending on the type of legal advice you require. You can find free resources online for simple legal tasks that don't require an expert, as well as free legal templates. However, as your business grows, you'll want legal documents tailored to your company and your specific needs, rather than using cookie-cutter clauses and disclaimers. On average, you can expect a small firm lawyer to charge, in contrast, £250 an hour for simple corporate work. Partners at top city law firms are frequently charging clients more than £1,000 an hour. And remember, brick-and-mortar law firms charge more than tech-enabled legal services providers. If you deal with an experienced lawyer, the lawyer fees per hour are more expensive than if you deal with a junior, but the quality will also be better. Hourly rates are not the whole story when it comes to the final invoice. Some experienced lawyers will spend 2 hours reviewing a contract. Less experienced lawyers might spend 10 hours or more if they're not familiar with the industry practices. The more complex the case, the less lawyers will be qualified to deal with it. Therefore, the ones that can deal with a complex case will charge more. At the end of the day, there's a whole range of legal services available out there, but to get the job done properly, low-cost hourly rates and DIY templates are not always the best option. It's like everything, you get what you pay for. And solid foundations for business sometimes mean you have to invest in the legal function to run a growing business to the maximum of its potential. When you start thinking about legal support, ask yourself, what do you really want to achieve? We're now going to have a look at how flexible is outsourcing in terms of legal support services. There are a number of ways that legal support services can be made available to you. Lawyers can be available to you full-time, work remotely from home, calling in and discussing with you or visiting your offices as and when needed. They can come and work with you at the client's office. They can also become a retainer, and this means that as problems arise, you can contact them, and this has the advantage as they will get to know your business and you can access them as a trusted legal advisor. Or you can have somebody on call who you can call upon as and when you need it. Or you may have a project-based issue so that a lawyer will be assigned to you to help you through a particular time-limited project. So we're now going to look at an example of some of the legal issues that can relate to employment. So, for example, when you're looking to grow your team. When starting the recruiting process, it's important to be aware of certain legal issues in order to minimise risk. Job postings, interview questions, checking references and making job offers all need to be done in a way that meets legal requirements. In some cases, even without knowing, you could be asking unlawful or even discriminatory questions. In all steps of the recruiting process, job postings, interviews, checking references and making the offer, remember the prohibited grounds and make sure all questions are asked in a way that gives all applicants a fair chance to respond based on your job needs. Doing so will minimise the risk and chances that you may face an allegation of discriminatory hiring practices. Good recruiting is also good ethical and business practice, which will foster your positive reputation and make it easier for you to recruit. So looking at job postings, you must not publish job postings or advertisements that give preference to race, colour, ancestry, place of origin, political belief, religion, marital or family status, physical or mental disability, sex or sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, or age. Turning to the interview, there are a few key points to keep in mind when designing questions. You need to ensure your interview process is not intentionally or unintentionally asking questions on prohibited grounds. It's important to describe the job and requirements in a way that gives all applicants a chance to apply. For example, if a position requires regular overtime and has an irregular schedule, do not ask, "Do you have children?" as you would be assuming a person with children could not work longer hours. To ensure the candidate can work the schedule you need, you should ask, "This job requires regular overtime and has an irregular schedule. Can you meet this requirement?" Turning to references, it's important to note that you can't ask questions that are legal during any stage of the recruitment process, including your interview or while conducting reference checks. For example, just as you cannot ask a candidate about a disability in the interview process, you cannot then ask a former employer, how many sick days did they take last year? However, you can ask if they were reliable and punctual. You need to also be clear about the way you offer jobs. You need to also ensure that the way in which you make your offer of a job, the remuneration package and the benefits comply with employment law. So now we're going to look at some of the common legal issues relating to general commercial matters, such as increasing your client portfolio. T's and C's, terms and conditions. Whether they're clicked to accept terms on your website or they're printed on the back of an order form, your standard terms and conditions are the unsung saviours of your business. They give your clients clarity about what to expect when they work with you. For example, they explain exactly what service you're providing, whether the result is guaranteed or just a target, what your payment terms are, and many other important details that are specific to your business and the services you provide. Using standard terms and conditions can also free up vast amounts of your time because you don't need to prepare a bespoke contract for every client or new piece of work. You can also authorize your staff to agree contracts with clients subject to your standard terms without them consulting you every time. If you're selling products or services online, you must have written standard terms and conditions. It's impossible to have a verbal agreement with your online clients because you won't have any direct contact with them. However, your standard terms and conditions need to be kept up to date. If the law changes or you change the way you work, your terms and conditions should be updated to reflect this. We now come on to NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. Using non-disclosure agreements, sometimes referred to as confidentiality agreements or NDAs, will help protect your ideas and trade secrets from being stolen. They create a legally binding obligation to keep whatever is disclosed confidential and gives you the right to claim compensation if that confidentiality is breached. Sometimes it makes good commercial sense to enter into a confidentiality agreement, but other times it's essential. For example, if you have invented a new piece of technology and there's a chance you could patent it, you must keep it confidential. If you don't, and the idea becomes public, you won't be able to register a patent later, and this could put your business at a huge disadvantage. We now come on to contract terms. Sometimes businesses need to renegotiate their contract terms with suppliers and clients because a major piece of new legislation is coming into effect. This was the case with GDPR in 2018. Brexit will also likely have an impact on the way you do business if your activity is cross-border or if you rely upon international trade. For such major changes, you will need somebody who's an expert and can adapt your contracts to comply with new regulatory requirements. This brings us on to the issue of international trade. Do you work outside of the UK in jurisdictions where you need legal documents to be in the local language and compliant with the local legislation? If so, you'll need to find lawyers who can translate and transcribe your current contracts while keeping in mind your business goals. Opening into new markets can be very exciting, but it needs to be done whilst protecting your business interests. Now we come on to e-commerce. Are you using a website to conduct business? Do you offer online services? Or do you have an online portal that advertises your products? Many people think that a website's terms of use and privacy policy are just standard documents and give them very little thought. They think they can just copy them from another website and this will be good enough. But this is a very risky strategy and we strongly recommend that you don't do it. If these agreements have been properly prepared and tailored specifically for your business, they will help protect your website from unauthorized copying. They can also contain disclaimers to protect you and limit your liability if somebody tries to sue you. If you're collecting any personal information via your website, for example names and email addresses, the privacy policy will help you comply with your legal obligations under GDPR rules. So what happens if you're not using these business contracts in your company? The consequences could be disastrous and you could lose everything. If, for example, you don't have a written contract with the freelancer who designed all of your branding, you won't own it. Your brand may be your single most valuable asset, and it won't be yours because the law says that intellectual property rights, for example relating to a brand, can only be transferred by way of a written contract that has been signed by the creator, the transferor, the designer, and you. If somebody copied your logo or brand name and you tried to sue them, they would have an easy defense. All they'd need to say is, but it's not yours, so I've not infringed any of your rights. Don't wait until it's too late and something has gone wrong. Create legal documents that protect and allow your e-commerce activity to thrive. So how do we work to provide you with flexible legal services? We have a large pool of lawyers, our consultants, who have a huge amount of experience in a wide variety of law and are available to give clients either full-time, part-time or one-off legal support, either from home or at your office, or a mixture of both. The usual process is as follows. Number 1, the client request. Clients can contact us by email. As a client, you can contact us by email, by telephone or via our website, and our client team will then contact you to check we understand your legal need and your time frame. The matching process. We will then match the legal requirements of your work and the time frame to the pool of experienced and expert lawyers that we have using our own proprietary technology, and find and prepare a list of lawyers for you to consider. The next stage 3 are interviews. The shortlisted lawyers are then interviewed by you at your offices or remotely, and to ensure that you're happy with the fit. The 4th stage is after selection of the lawyer, they can start working immediately after you have signed the work agreements with us. To provide you with some real-life examples of situations where a growing company might need legal supports, these are 2 different situations which we were involved with recently, including a client needs and the legal solution that we provided. In the first case study, the need was for general commercial contract drafting and negotiating to support a British online fashion and beauty store. The background was that our client had an immediate need to relieve the pressure on their in-house team to review, draft and negotiate around 20 to 50 branded supply terms and conditions contracts. The Obelisk solution that we were able to provide was that since the client requirement was to have Obelisk get on with the work from a behind-the-scenes perspective, we appointed an experienced general commercial lawyer on a remote, what we call standout capacity for a couple of months. The lawyer was dedicated to the client and was the main point of contact. Over the period, the workload fluctuated, but as the nature and frequency of the work became known, the timing and fee basis became more concrete to suit the client's budget and enabled us to fix the fees. Our consultant drafted and negotiated general and commercial contracts, as well as within the branded areas of supply, T's and C's, IT, digital media and marketing contracts. The second case study required negotiation support for an international technology company. The background was the project involved assisting our client with the negotiation of consortia agreements under the EU Programme 2020. The client's main challenges were insufficient internal capacity and the unpredictability of the work volumes in this area. The number of transactions depended on the outcome of bids submitted as part of the programme. In addition, it was crucial that any resource provided would have specialist expertise covering the EU dimension. The Obelisk solution that we came up with to service this project was by using our standby delivery model, whereby a pool of consultants, all having the relevant expertise, could be deployed at the point of need to manage surges in work volumes. A training program was put in place by Obelisk to achieve consistency, continuity and seamless delivery without drawing on the client's resource, and this included instances where additional new consultants would need to be brought in to supplement the resource as the volume of work grew. We'd like to thank you for listening to this webinar and hope we've given you an insight into the way that the current flexible legal support can help you. Don't hesitate to contact us and send us an email at info@obelisksupport.com or go to our website www.obelisksupport.com. We're waiting to hear how we can help you. In particular, if you buy 10 hours of legal support with us and mention WEConnect, you'll get a 10% discount on your rate. So thank you so much for listening to this webinar, and we look forward to being able to help you. Goodbye.